Howdy, and welcome to the White Hat Law Show with Warren Nord, where we cover a mix of current events, politics, and the law. Take it away, Warren.
Welcome back to White Hat Law. Today we are not in our normal spot. Today we are at Good Karma Cigar, right? Is that what we call it?
Correct.
Good Karma Cigar in Fort Worth. It's at 704 East Weatherford. 704 East Weatherford. And so Todd Daly, who owns this place, is with me. Welcome, Todd, to White Hat Law. Thank you for hosting us today.
Thank you.
Tell us about Good Karma Cigar.
We are, I guess at this point, a chainette of premium cigar stores and lounges. We are here in Fort Worth, in Amarillo, and in Lubbock.
Amarillo and Lubbock. And how long have you been operating these places?
We first store opened in Amarillo in 2010. So, what, 8 years?
8 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how long have you been open here?
End of May this year.
And
New here.
And what do people need to know about Good Karma Cigar?
Heaven for cigar lovers. We don't do market research. We don't poll people. We don't try to find a hole in the market. We have a really scientific way of doing our stores. I build what I would want. But the good thing is I want what most people that really like cigars want. So there's exhaustive inventories, really, really broad selections, lots of interesting cigars that you really just don't find anywhere else. We have our own brands that we develop. We are, as they say, not fooling around about cigars. And the places to sit down and smoke them are amazing, which is particularly relevant these days, given that in Fort Worth, you can't really smoke anywhere in public.
Well, they say that, but I see people smoking here all the time. What is the current story in Fort Worth on smoking?
Okay. You can smoke in a cigar store or a tobacco store or a cigar bar or your home. That's where.
Can I walk on the street?
Not within 20 feet of a public entrance to a public building.
Okay.
Public meaning anyone can go in.
Right.
Not city-owned, government-owned.
In Arlington, we have the rule. It says that you just have to be a certain number of feet from a window or a door, generally.
Here, it's a physical distance from any entrance.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about parks here.
It's interesting to me that they keep saying it's 100% this, 100% that, but they really aren't. They aren't regulating everywhere. They're only regulating specific parts of everywhere. So it's not 100% smoke-free. I can walk down the street legally smoking.
I think so.
As long as I'm not within a certain distance. So,
middle of the street on Main Street, you're okay.
Yeah. So I mean, so it seems,
not on the sidewalk.
So it seems absolutely backwards. It's really not. It's not 100%. The default is I can smoke, and instead of allowing us to smoke where we want, a commercial establishment where adults go, pool hall. Now they've made these carve out for the cigars, but I can't go to a pool hall,
right,
and smoke where everybody's over 21.
Right.
But I can walk down Main Street smoking. So it seems like we got things backwards, but that's just me.
Well, consider Colorado. Statewide, but Denver in particular, you can't smoke anywhere. Just cigar stores. That's it. For tobacco. But marijuana, which is federally illegal,
right,
that's okay.
Well, there's no accounting for consistency, right? So secondhand high is okay, but secondhand smoke from tobacco is deadly.
Right.
So there you go. That's
relatively unproven, but still. Yeah.
Well, there you go. There was now. When did you open this facility?
This opened. Our grand opening was May 31st of this year.
Okay, so as we sit here, it's middle of October, something like that. So, so how's it going? Is it working out?
Yeah, we're still in a mode of people understanding who we are, where we are, what we are. It's a market adoption process, and we're taking that journey. We do it with all the shops. For us, opening a new store is like giving birth. You go through this lengthy process with a lot of pain and
Right.
a lot of expense.
Right.
And then you have...
I've seen your inventory. It's substantial.
Well, and it's the whole process. And then you have this child that looks at you and says, feed me, and I need you to do everything.
Right.
But they grow a little quicker than children. And first they start to crawl, then they start to walk, then they start to run. And then one day they turn around and say, I don't need you anymore. I got this. So, yeah, it's just a process.
Well, does your store in Amarillo need you?
I'm out there kind of once a month, once every other month. And I really enjoy it when I get to go out there. It is, to this day, my favorite cigar store in the United States. And I would feel that way whether I owned it or not.
Now, why Amarillo?
My wife does urban redevelopment.
Okay.
And was recruited to redevelop downtown Amarillo. And so we moved out there for her to pursue that opportunity. And, I'm a guy that really, really loves cigars, and I got bored. And there wasn't a shop selling the kinds of cigars I wanted to buy in the way I wanted to buy them. And so my wife said, I think you should, I said, I need to get a job. I'm bored. And she said, well, I think you need to pursue something you're passionate about. And I thought about it for a little while, and I said, okay, so the good news is I think you're right. I'm going to do that. The bad news is it's a cigar shop. She hates cigars, less so now.
Yeah. Oh, look, it makes green stuff.
Yeah. We opened in a little 1,100 square foot house. It was half a block off Polk Street, which is Main Street in Amarillo. And little tiny humidor. And I think most people thought we were just marching headlong towards failure, including most of the industry reps. And I don't know, something happened.
Right.
We kind of had a kernel of a good idea, and we were embraced by the community. And we initially thought it would be mostly a virtual platform that we would sell boutique cigars, ship them to people. And we were just absolutely shocked and amazed and blessed that the citizens of Amarillo said, this is awesome. We love this, and supported it. And we were there for a little over a year, and then bought and moved into our current location. It's a 4,400 square foot building on Polk Street. It's kind of on the south edge, down by 40, just on the edge of downtown. That's sort of our, our model. Because downtowns don't want stores like this, right? So we kind of get pushed to the periphery. It's an amazing building. It was an art studio for a New York school artist that, for whatever reason, taught at West Texas A&M, and had his private studio in Amarillo, and we renovated it and altered the use, the arrangements for us, and just along the way, one thing at a time, constantly evolving, came to this special place that when you walk over the threshold, if you like cigars, or better still love cigars, you say, I could spend like the next 3 hours here, the next 30 years. This is home. This is awesome. So we're anything but, like corporate big box. Everything we do sort of evolves. We watch how our customers relate to the buildings, to the furnishings, to the product lines, everything. We're highly, highly responsive. And we just kind of go with their flow.
So you just talked about that house. Okay, so here we're in a house too. So tell me why why you're in houses, standalone houses.
I love adaptive reuse. My wife is, she's an AICP certified planner, and does development, and is highly educated, and really amazing at what she does. And I have a tendency to go to some of her conferences with her in International Downtown Association. And so in some of those, I got exposed to this idea, which I sort of knew organically, but I didn't understand the science behind it, where you have downtowns that started their life very differently than their life became when the national highway system was built.
Right.
And bubbles were created all across the country in primary markets, and downtowns emptied out.
Right.
But nature abhors a vacuum. They don't truly empty out. Something else comes in, right? Something that downtowns typically looked at in the 80s and said, this is not good. We need to change this. We need to change the users. We need to change the use of the buildings and grow the tax bases. And so as these downtowns would swell, but with a much larger population than they were originally built for, in most cases.
Right.
Then you have these sort of peripheral areas, right? Which are sort of like here. We're 2 lots off the corner of downtown,
right.
Physical boundary. But we feel very different from the core of downtown. And so, property is redeveloped to try to use the land in a way that best fits what the market wants. And so you get these transitional uses, and this home was built in 1917, I think. So it was very different then. We had been
1917 or 1970?
17.
1917.
Truly.
Okay.
Fort Worth started on the bluff right around the corner.
Right.
Moved downtown, went south into Fairmount, went west after World War I when Camp Bowie was vacated and the military left all the infrastructure in place. But this was a little pocket that, I don't know the gentleman's name, but somebody built a home. It was for them. It's kind of grown over the years. But, it was just kind of this sort of weird property. There aren't many single families left in downtown.
Right.
Very, very few. But for us, it was like, okay, so we want a place that feels very homey. We want a place that people can feel comfortable, like they belong.
Right.
And people don't typically feel comfortable and belong in tilt wall buildings. But they do in spaces like this. So for us, it's sort of perfect. Plus, it enables, with the structure of a home, the ability to make little micro environments where people can socialize and gather, small groups, one-on-one, whatever, larger group in some areas. And then the other thing, it had this amazing backyard that's all paved, patio space, which is already getting pretty popular in the evenings, on the weekends. And we anticipate that's going to grow.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that introduction to Good Karma Cigars. We're going to take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about the greater movement toward a smoke-free environment and explain how this kind of blends with what you're doing. Okay. And we'll be right back in a minute.
Hang on, y'all. More with Warren when we get back. Welcome back, folks. You're listening to the White Hat Law Show with Warren Norris. Take it away, Warren.
Welcome back. I'm talking today with Todd Daly, right?
Right.
So Todd's talking to us about the Good Karma Cigar Shop, his chainette, as you say, and talking about all things cigars. But you mentioned something earlier that we were talking about the reasons for having a standalone building and going into the regulations of it. We talk a lot about regulations on the show and how wonderful they are, or not. And so, talk to me about the reason behind that.
Well, we're in the business of smoke, high quality, humidified, but smoke, and we are in a country with a government that is clearly anti-smoke of any kind.
And not of any kind,
Well,
right?
federal government. But it's seemingly unwilling or unable to enforce its own,
Right.
narcotics laws. But yeah, there definitely a narrative in a series of actions. The premium cigar industry is now under FDA regulatory control. And our industry is trying to go through the process of becoming regulated and dealing with that, which is difficult for us. This is a handmade industry that's all about artisanship, craftsmanship, and innovation. Product.
As opposed to the FDA,
Cigarettes.
which is kind of deals with pills made by the millions by machines after $1 billion
Cigarettes
worth
made
of,
by the billions, right?
Right.
Made by machines.
Yeah.
And the the legislation that put the FDA over cigarettes, that bill before it was adopted had a name because it stumped around the hill for like 7 years. It was called the Philip Morris bill because Philip Morris wrote it.
Ah.
And Philip Morris guaranteed the market share forever,
Right.
in the process, and also settled their health lawsuits. And
It's pretty common for the major player in an industry to be the one that writes the regulations, and it just conveniently protects their market share and
Sure.
works with what they can do.
Sure, it
right?
made them so much more profitable. I mean, so we shouldn't advertise anymore, and we shouldn't develop new products, but people are still going to consume that addictive product. Cool. So we just make a lot more money.
Right. Harder for a new person to get into the business.
Almost impossible.
Right.
Almost impossible. So yeah, we have fallen under FDA purview control through an extension of their power, which really relates to the onset of vape, which is a product that we don't even sell. And very few cigar shops really ever got involved with that.
Now, why
at all.
is that? Let me just break in and ask you that. Why is it? I see this division between the vape shops and the cigar shops, and I don't understand why. I can understand why a vape shop wouldn't sell the real thing, but I don't know why a cigar shop doesn't sell the vaporware.
We're a traditional industry, and when vape came up, as it, to say arose, whatever. I think most people in my position thought of this as some sort of head shop-like product.
Right.
We were wrong. I was wrong. Yeah, I won't speak for someone else. I was wrong. It is an alternative nicotine delivery platform.
Right.
Actually, it was the original concept. Then it morphed. And there is a high percentage of all vape, juice, oil, whatever sold today has zero nicotine.
Right.
So it's an unfortunate truth for the FDA, because for them to become involved from a regulatory perspective, it has to have health consequences.
Right.
And with zero nicotine, doesn't have any carbon monoxide,
Right.
doesn't have the health consequences. But vape stole something like 30% market share from big tobacco cigarettes. So
Wow.
Philip Morris, Altria, hey, what is this? No new products. Now there's this new product.
Right.
And it's killing us.
Jeff Goldblum would say, "Nature finds a way." Right.
Right. Absolutely. So, I should have got into vape. All the cigar shop owners should have got into vape. The truth is, if you want to try to quit smoking cigarettes, vape really is perhaps a platform to do that. To walk down the nicotine level.
Right.
Your smoking cessation, the gum and whatnot, those are all owned by Philip Morris and Altria, and they zero efficacy. Nobody quits on them.
Right.
But let's say that you say, to yourself, okay, I am going to smoke. I do want this nicotine product, but I don't want all the chemicals that are in a pack of Marlboros.
Right.
I don't want the carbon monoxide. I don't want the tar. Really significant health risks associated with that. I'm going to use this vape product that was actually made in an FDA-approved lab. All ingredients are FDA-approved ingredients except for the pure nicotine, which the FDA simply won't approve nicotine.
Right.
You've eliminated all of these harmful elements. So why is it that our government would say that's a terrible idea? Because this new regulatory environment is 100% going to eliminate vape. Why? Because it's costing big tobacco a lot of money.
Right.
They don't care about your health.
Right.
They don't care about my health.
The elected officials do, but they're getting their advice from because elected officials are not experts on anything, so they tend to go to the market leader and say, "Help me understand that," and then the spin that you get is that this is hurting my pocketbook. Therefore, there's some reason why it should be stopped. So there you go. So a standalone building helps. Back to the standalone building and
I have always felt like we were going to have a statewide smoking ordinance. We do business in Amarillo. There's no smoking ordinance there. We do business in Lubbock. There's a very substantial smoking ordinance there. Do business in Fort Worth.
What makes that substantial? What makes a substantial smoking ordinance? Can I walk down Main Street smoking? I don't smoke, by the way.
Again, I think you're subject. I think there it's 25 feet from a public entrance.
Okay.
To smoke in any establishment, it requires a smoking permit. So you have to go through and meet these requirements.
A permitting requirement.
Right.
Okay.
And the permit is not available to the vast majority of businesses. At this point, I believe it's available to smoke shops, cigar bars. There aren't any. I'm not certain about bars at this point. I think you can still smoke in a bar there. But 2 years ago, the city council in Lubbock was one vote away from passing an ordinance that said you cannot smoke in any building that has any employees other than family members.
That'd be pretty egregious.
They really dislike it when I say this, but I call it the People's Republic of Lubbock.
Right. Right.
It's located in West Texas, but it's like a slice of Austin.
I'm sure they're very excited about that. So you were also talking about this. So you think a statewide ban is on its way?
Sure.
So, and explain why the Restaurant Association would want that.
Yeah, well, it's a curious thing. The Texas Restaurant Association has really been behind the lobbying effort for this statewide ordinance. And their verbiage is leveling the playing field. That municipality by municipality making an ordinance is unfair when that municipality borders another municipality that doesn't have an ordinance.
Right.
That's wordy. Concrete example. The TRA doesn't like it that the Dallas restaurants in far north Dallas, say on the south side of Beltline Road, are at a dramatic disadvantage compared to the restaurants on the north side of Beltline Road, which are in the city of Addison, which doesn't have a smoking ordinance. And
does Addison still have the highest number of restaurants per capita in like the known universe or something?
I think it does, and I think it's still a very prosperous city with a lot of sales tax receipts.
Right.
I remember when I was in high school in Dallas, the police officers drove around in Volvos. That was their police cars. I think it's very interesting that this concept of the smoking regulations, which you hear politicians parrot all the time, that everybody wants this. But yet you look at the market reaction, and there's lots of space on the south side of Beltline to lease, but on the north side of Beltline, everything's full and under use, being fully utilized. So clearly, there's a lack of understanding that there's parts of the market that want smoke.
Right.
And I mean, capitalism isn't perfect, but it is no question the most perfect allocation of resources that man has developed.
Well, it reveals.
It comes into it gets in trouble when government tries to tweak it.
Right. We're gonna make sure that this really takes care of everybody that I'm paying attention to, not just everybody who wants service. If somebody wants to have a no smoking, in fact, this is happening in Arlington right now. So we've had the no smoking being enforced now for several months in Arlington. We had a lawsuit that slowed it down for about a year and gave us time for Fort Worth to have its ordinance, because we were going to lose people to Fort Worth, and so we kept it alive long enough for Fort Worth to get its ordinance operational. And so now it's being affected. And the funny thing is that it's a death of a thousand cuts. Arlington City Council changes the law so that neighborhood bars are illegal. So no neighborhood bars. Now there are bars that are still zoned, that are on division. There are plenty of bars where that are legitimate, that are conforming. But there are a number of neighborhood bars that are not conforming now, and so you can't get a permit to build the smoking patio that you want to build. So
that you need
in order for your customers to go out and enjoy that. So they made it non-conforming, and they say, well, now you're non-conforming, you can't have a permit.
Sure.
And those bars have lost, from what I understand, about a third of their income.
That's what Lubbock did. Before we looked at expanding into a cigar bar in Lubbock, their zoning categories there requires full C zoning for a cigar bar. So the alternative uses of that ground space are car lots, big box retail. You put a Walmart,
Costco
there.
or something, yeah.
And so a cigar bar in a community of 240,000 people. It's impossible. The only possible spots are in new greenfield developments, and it's the pad sites in front of like a Costco or a Cabela's or something. But those are 8,000, 9,000 square foot buildings and too large. But the city was forward thinking. Before passing the smoking ordinance, they started changing the zoning. So they utilize it as a tool.
Yeah. They're just because it's what everybody wants. Because you need zoning. If I always want to say, if you need the zoning for it, it's probably not what everybody wants.
The thing to remember is that governments exist to govern. It's a very profound statement.
Yeah.
There's no other reason for government.
They may rule nicely, but they mean to rule.
Sure.
So anyway, well, I have to say I'm hopeful that our Republican-led state legislature will allow cities to continue to make their own decisions on this issue. Seems to me like it's pretty, and it just always cracks me up. We're going to create this 100% smoke-free city, but we're only going to regulate private businesses where adults go, and we're going to allow the smoking generally otherwise, unless it's close to a park or a particular spot. We're going to allow people to smoke wherever they want, except when it's in a private organization where only adults hang out. We're going to really impact that. That's really not a 100% smoke-free environment. That's really I'm controlling your life when I want to,
Sure.
and I'm really allowing everybody else to smoke wherever they want, as long as they're not making money on it.
Our council here, in the process of the enhancement of our smoking ordinance very recently, made two statements that shocked me. I was born in Fort Worth. One statement was that Fort Worth needed to catch up with the times of other cities and how they're regulating smoking. And they actually pointed to Arlington as they needed to look at Arlington as a way shower in how they should regulate this activity. I'm 52 years old, and the founders of Fort Worth and types like Eamon Carter would roll over in their grave to think that the elected council of Fort Worth would point to a suburb for leadership.
Now you're gonna have the city council of Arlington going, "Look at us, we're the way showers."
The you should make a shirt. I'm
Yeah.
a way shower.
Yeah.
The second
Dream
statement,
City,
which absolutely blew me away. It was a council rep, actually I think from my district here, talked about how the elected council in Fort Worth was charged not just with the business of the city, but of protecting the citizens, and that she could not stomach or conscience the idea that someone could go into a drinking establishment and be exposed to the perils of secondhand smoke. And then went on to say, just think of this person that goes into that establishment every day for 3 or 4 hours and the impacts of the secondhand smoke. And to me, it was like, wow, you got that exactly wrong. Somebody goes into a bar for 3 or 4 hours a day, and your concern is secondhand smoke for them? Seriously?
Probably talking about the employer or the employees, right? I would think so.
No, she's talking about patrons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now that's a narrative.
Well, I know that back when I was a waiter, and I did wait tables for more than 10 years when I was a young man, and I wore contacts back then, and it was painful to be part of the smoking section, and I always asked for it because that's where all the money was. And so I never have understood this idea that somebody who's, I'm carrying around 30 pounds of extra weight too, and if you have obese people, then it creates an environment where obesity is accepted. So secondhand obesity is a thing that's just as real as secondhand smoke, because you create an environment where people move from here to the Northeast where people are thinner, they lose weight. People come down here and they start hanging out with us, they gain weight. It's a thing. And it's okay for us to walk around 50 pounds overweight, and the people who are 50 pounds overweight are going to talk to other people about, well, you should stop smoking. I'm not sure which one of those is more unhealthful, but I guess we'll decide that at the end of the day. Todd, I appreciate you hosting us today.
Sure.
We're at 704 East Weatherford, and what's your opening hours, closing hours?
We open at 10 Monday through Friday, and it's sort of the closing is always a little nebulous. We're always open for the game. So Monday night, it's when the game's over. Thursday night, it's when the game's over. It's 9 o'clock Tuesday and Wednesday. Sometimes 10 o'clock on Fridays. I don't know. We're again, a responsive business. So we're sort of, if we have people that are having a good time and enjoying our establishment, and we stay open for them.
And do you sell alcohol, or
no,
how's it?
We do not. We're so our particular zoning classification is we're neighborhood commercial, so we're restricted from alcohol sales, and actually we've never pulled a liquor permit or license in any of our locations.
Really?
Yeah, our patrons are welcome to BYOB.
So they can bring
act
their own.
responsibly and consume responsibly. But you bet. Yeah.
Outstanding. Well, I appreciate your time. I'm glad you joined us here at White Hat Law. We had a little nuance here on is smoking and cigars, part 2 from the earlier episode. And I hope you'll join us next time. White Hat Law. My name is Warren Norrid, and you can call us anytime. I practice law in downtown Arlington. Thanks, Todd. Thanks for coming.
Well, that's a wrap, folks, and we want to thank you for listening to the White Hat Law Show here with Warren Norrid. To find out more about Warren, check him out at norridlaw.com. See you next time.